April 26th. I'm glad to have you here. We'll have an opening ceremony with Commissioner Carroll giving it the pledge, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Commissioner Paulson operating an invocation. Go. Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather together and hopefully that'll bless us that we can get to put our heads together about how we can best help the city and how we can best prepare the city for the future. We say this in Jesus Christ's name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call. You're going to sneak and do something else.
I don't have one. Do we have a paper agenda?
If everybody makes sure that their microphones are on. Commissioner Brian Baer. Here. Commissioner Sam Brady.
Here.
Commissioner Carrie Carroll.
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Paulson.
Here.
Chairman Curtis Tanner.
Here.
And Council Member Diane Anderson.
Here.
Great. Thank you. All right. Review and approve the minutes for February. Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Nope. No minutes.
Okay. So we don't have minutes. All right. Okay. No public hearing. Quick, next item on the agenda is subdivision review updates on the Rockloft Estates development. Any information to present here?
Okay. Hold on.
Hey, we're moving.
We as a staff have been working with the development, the Rockloft Ridge Estates development. There are some things that are still, that we're still waiting to get. They've submitted all of their paperwork to Davis County Flood Control and the Corps, and we have gotten all of that back. We've gotten the easement crossings for the Bureau of Reclamation, which allows them to cross over the aqueduct along the bridge there. They're currently in the process of getting some changes made. The sewer district had some requests on the plan to get some changes made, and those are being done. And then I am working with Hates Creek Irrigation on the crossing of Bear Creek, not the crossing of the creek itself, but the crossing of their diversion pipe that runs underneath the future road. And I believe we have some resolution to that. I will be meeting with Hates Creek in a board meeting here in the next week or two to present that information to the Hates Creek board. So where we stand right now with the Rockloft Ridge Estates development, we don't have anything for the Planning Commission to approve tonight, but I do want to just make you aware that we as a staff and the developer continue working on the development, and things seem to be moving forward. It is our hope that within the month of May, they will be in front of you with a final plat approval, requesting your approval of that. So if there are any questions or anything that you have that you would like to talk about, and it doesn't have to happen right here, I would like to flush out any of those concerns as they plan on coming before the Planning Commission in May.
Okay. Something that I'd like to have ahead of time prior to that is having a pretty detailed document or construction documents of the project as far as grading, utilities, that kind of stuff, and
Okay.
slopes and all that thing. I'd like to have that way ahead of time so we could take a look at it and see that.
We've got I can give you the latest civil Is that what I would give them, Matt?
Okay.
I'd be happy to drop you the latest civil engineering that shows the grading and the slopes and all of that for the project.
all the geo-
Curtis,
Stuff.
go ahead, Matt.
Matt, yes?
Just make a comment. So based on some feedback we got from you, Commissioner Tanner, we took a long, hard look at the retention, which I think was concerned on the grading on the retention area.
Yeah.
Created a big hole that comes a little bit outside of there. So we submitted to Brandon for his review using a contact system that we can actually bury there so that we can more match up to essentially have everything come down and breathe one slope and come on top. That's so we don't have a big hole with massive retaining. So based on some of your comments, I think that's one of the areas we made quite a bit of
Take a look at,
progress.
okay.
I'm quite confident that Brandon's going to like the design. We're going to take 72-inch pipes we're going to put underground, and they're going to be essentially detain that water in those pipes.
Okay.
And then we can just bring the slope back and hopefully have it be just good. We do have to lower the road there.
Sure.
We already had, but that's going to look way better than if we had to do that big, have to go really deep in the ground. And I think Brandon, have you heard that? Have you seen that on plans? Yes. Okay. So we're going in the right direction? You are. Yeah. I think that's a good approach.
So are we, from the city, approving a storm tech system with an orifice size for flow? Then is that what that's about? Because that's a storm tech system
Correct. It's underground detention.
with the certain size orifice for flow into the city. The storm tech will hold the water for a certain level, but it needs, their designs are usually set up so they slow flow into the system that you're working it on. It doesn't all just flow through 72-inch pipes and just keep flooding into the city system.
It's
No,
just a
it's a
traditional
slow release.
detention.
Yeah, it's got an orifice with a slow flow retention. Allows it to flow. It's set up properly, engineered properly as a defined storm tech system.
Yes. StormTech is a brand.
Well, I'm just using it as an example. It has underground pipes. It's a storage system underground, and it has a way to release the volume of those large pipes at a rate that's
Right.
approved
The
by
height-
the city.
The full flow comes in and is detained in there, and then a small portion is metered out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's it. You talked about pipes and things like that. It's a system, and it's out
Right.
there.
We have detention basins all over the city. All of them, not all of them. We have another one that is underground, but the majority of what you see is above ground. So it just holds the water, and you can see the water. This would be underground, buried system.
Yeah, I'm just saying some cities will not allow the storm tech system or that underground water system. That's one to just make sure we're on that same page.
Given the situation, the sensitivity of the slopes and infiltrating into the ground, I think that's a much better approach.
Good. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
So I will make sure that I get to you the most
Yeah,
current
kind of the
drawings so
latest
that
and
you can
greatest.
look at those, and that will go to all of you
Good.
for your review. There are some sections that are future correct on the site plan, so we won't have necessarily a complete grading plan for those future lots, or will we?
Well, it'll show some partial grading, so on most all of the easterly lots that border the Forest Service, we're going through some additional debris flow analysis with Geostrata, the city's consultant. I think we've basically come to a verbal understanding of what it's going to be. We were submitting the formal submittals to them, so we wouldn't get hung up because we're under a time frame where we want to start putting improvements in. We're going to do a deferred submittal on that portion. It'll be essentially the second part we'll see, and because then we can flesh out, make sure everybody's comfortable with how we're addressing the debris flows on those lots. So these ones, you'll see those upper east lots. There'll probably be grade in there. You might see it on the construction, but they're not on the plat that's going to be recorded. So we're not recording those lots, but you'll kind of see how they interface with this, and it's going to come 45 days after this one anyway, so it's coming. It's
Okay.
just we wanted to make sure we weren't rushing addressing the debris flow issues with Geostrata. We gave them plenty of time to kind of digest what our plan is.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Could they make sure the drawings are in such a shape, if it's 30 or 40 megabytes, that they can put it in some kind of a Dropbox or link so that it's easier for us to get?
I'll just
obtain?
send you a Dropbox link so that you can get them because they're large.
Yeah.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, we'll move on to the next item of business.
Chairman, is that final plat approval next month? Is that
That's
what you
they
said?
were hoping for. That's what Brandon mentioned.
That is what we as a staff and are working towards is final plat approval.
Great.
Or presenting something to the planning commission that would be a final plat approval.
Great.
There will be recommendations from the staff in that. So
Okay. All right, next item of business. Review, discuss, approve, deny final review of the water efficient landscape ordinance.
if I remember correctly from our last planning commission meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have been, we were going to get any changes that we needed beyond what was already submitted to you,
Yeah.
Chairman Tanner.
And I haven't seen any. I don't know, did anyone get sent? My technical difficulties may have, did any others get sent? Okay, great. Well, let's go with what we've got.
So this ordinance is the water-wise the landscaping ordinance. This would also be put adopted and put into our general plan that we were just recently discussing. There are opportunities for us to change or tweak or modify this as we move forward. This will deal most specifically with the Rockloft Ridge Estates development, but there is an element within the ordinance itself that allows us to address re-landscaping of properties as people choose to re-landscape their property. This ordinance will also allow for us to qualify for the Flip the Strip program because it's considered a water-wise ordinance, and that is what Weber Basin is also asking cities to adopt, is an ordinance that addresses water conservation.
I had a question about that. I've got one right here. So it's been a while since I looked at this, but did we put a provision in this ordinance to allow for this particular development to, or maybe I should reword that, not this particular development, but to allow for developments in the city to water with culinary water? Because we currently have a provision that says you have to have a secondary water. And so we needed to do, does that incorporate into this, or do we need
So
to put that in this?
There's a elevation above a certain elevation that Weber Basin has provided us. So anything at that elevation and higher can use culinary. Anything below that elevation is
That's in there.
I'd have to go back and double check, but I believe it should be in there.
Well, we'll double check that and look at that. I know that's something we've got to do.
But that would change our ordinance as it currently is written, because our ordinance does not allow for culinary water use for irrigation purposes.
That's correct. That's correct.
Is this the ordinance that's up on the display? And is there a way to focus it if it is?
It's not just my eyes then.
Do we have it in something? I can't find it.
Is it live that you can just send it to everyone real quick?
It should be in your, do you not have it? I'd be happy to go print it.
That would be helpful.
Let me go print it.
Thank you.
You're looking to see where I have it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. I thought I had it last time, but I don't have it now.
All right. Well, we'll take a little bit of a break here for a minute while we're getting that hard copy.
That's one thing.
Yeah, what's that?
That's one thing.
No, the next one that talks about flip the strip, and that's Brandon as well. And then after that was the ADU ordinance update and changes. So those are all kind of,
That looks better.
Oh, yeah, you did it.
That's better.
You did it.
Did you just reopen
It's still a little blurry to me. But we
Yeah,
should all
that's
have
better.
this. We should all have this sent to us, but I don't see it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either.
I don't even have the agenda. Do you have the agenda?
I've just got it online here. The next item on the agenda, if we were to move to that and then come back to the water-wise ordinance is flip the strip program. Brandon just briefly mentioned that, but I think he's the one that's probably got the information on that. And the one following that on the agenda would be the ADU ordinance.
I can talk about that while we're waiting.
Would you give us an introduction of
Yes.
what's to be presented tonight?
So I'm still working on a couple of things with the ADU ordinance and plan to have that have a final draft, so to speak, to review at the next meeting. There's been a number of meetings statewide about what to do with ADUs and as it turns out, the state legislature's effort to allow for every house to have an ADU has backfired horribly.
Bummer.
For the most
Understandably.
part, what this has created is not creating additional affordable housing units for people that need housing. What it has done is created a highway to short-term rentals. These ADUs are being used as short-term rentals all over the state, to the point that it is causing major problems in most cities. And people are admitting now that was a bad idea. And there will probably be changes, even maybe some interim changes before the next legislative period. But people figured out that, guess what? You can make a whole lot more money renting out your basement apartment for $1,500 a week than $1,500 a month.
Mhm.
And there is a raging discussion
Thank you.
about that taking place at the state.
Thank
Our ordinance, the way it was drafted by our attorney, and I highly recommend that we stick with that.
We stick with it?
Is the language that you can have an ADU or you can have a short-term rental, but you can't have both. It's one or the other.
Why,
And
Jeff?
that
Why?
seems to be.
Why is that the case? That you can't have them both?
Policing it,
Oh, policing it?
probably.
Yeah,
How do you
the
determine?
intent of the short-term rental is that you rent your whole house, not a part of your
Oh,
house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Makes sense. Oh, thank
the
you, Brandon.
Thanks. There you go.
allowing, the point of having the ADU is to create some affordable housing for people that need it.
Not for
Like,
developers.
it's not available
House.
to them if it's constantly being used as short-term rental.
Okay, that answers it. That sounds right.
Okay. All right. So
We will have that at our next meeting.
Okay.
Jeff, does that mean that because the state's probably another legislature away from really, because we were trying to get this done at the end of the year, right? Do we almost need to have a slight pause? Is there an urgency to do it a little more right? And the state's basically saying, hey, we'll get this figured out and then we'll let you know, so to speak.
That is a conversation, but Sam, I believe that there is a need to get something on the
Okay.
books, because they were pretty clear at a conference that I went to that if you don't have something in writing, you're just approving them. Whatever's
Yeah.
happened is approved. And so I think there is a need to move forward and put something on the books, but you can expect that it's going to change.
Sure. Well, we know the homework then from what you just said, that we'd want to make sure that you can't have both. And that'd be part of our deal. And because we were ready to almost approve something by the end of the year. And if we can just pick up this new information that they're struggling with over, rentals versus ADUs, and we just make that specific, you can't have both, then we're probably close to being wrapped up.
Just as an example, Springdale, just outside of Zion Park, they've determined now that 75% of all their housing units in the town is short-term rentals.
Mhm.
That has created a problem wherein they can't house people to work anywhere. Work in hotels, work in restaurants, work at gas stations, do all the things that a city needs to do. Those are some of the examples of what has happened, and it's creating a lot of stir.
Yeah, it's probably almost all of Washington County.
We looked up the other day just in Davis County, and there was like 800 short-term rentals advertised in just Davis County. That's a lot.
It's probably 18.
And I don't know why people are staying there. This isn't a resort community, but maybe they're coming to go to Lagoon. I don't know. But anyway, just know that it's an ongoing feud. But we need to push forward.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great idea.
Do you need anything from us? Jeff?
Do you have the edits we proposed? I think I sent something.
In the ADU ordinance?
Yeah.
Yes, I've got them.
Okay, gotcha.
Because you sent quite a few changes, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken,
And I
Kevin.
think a lot of that concern can be cured through the permit process. And I guess what it would come down to, we'd have to build in a ton of discretion for the city in whether and how we reject or accept short-term and long-term. We got to avoid a way where it looks like we're doing so, I guess, without, we would have to figure out a good system. I don't know whether it's a percentage of permits, a certain percentage can be X or can be Y. But I haven't made those sorts of edits, but I have said either you have a short-term permit or you have a long-term permit. But I think that's probably where it starts, is the permit process.
And that reminds me of just one other thing, Kevin, is that, and these were statements by some of the leading land use attorneys in the state. We're saying that you can't outlaw short-term rentals, but you can regulate the heck out of them. And so that's to your point, that if you're having problems, you can put provisions in place like permits and other things to, you have the right to control your city. So that was kind of a comment that came out, is that a lot of cities are looking at ways to regulate that are having problems.
Well, that brings up the question, what kinds of problems have we already had? Have we had
Yes.
like,
Short-term and ADU. I've got both.
so that experience should narrate what we do in the ordinance, right? We can address those in the ordinance.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
would
I'm
hope that
stating
we
the
can.
obvious, but I just wanted to state the obvious.
Yeah. No, it is a problem right now in Fruit Heights City.
Jeff, have you found, just real quick, I know we need to move on. Has any feedback come from cities being exposed to any discriminations because of said rentals or ADUs? Has that been a topic of discussion at all, that has the cities involved because they approve certain things and then some discrimination goes on and then the city can get tagged into some of those legal concerns?
I haven't heard of that specifically.
Because that's, it's a rental thing and sometimes that is a discrimination process.
It's that, it's more of that it's out of control. You don't have to, you can find a news article every week about something that has happened at a short-term rental, some kind of party,
Yeah.
some kind of fight, some kind of shooting, some kind of something.
Yeah.
It's the problems are numerous.
But the idea, the focus of this is to create more affordable housing, right? That's the direction.
Well, the direction with ADUs, the intent was to create more affordable
Right.
housing.
And that's our intention here, right?
Yes,
That's
I
what
believe so.
That's what we're trying to do
Right.
in our area.
Yes, we just have to be careful.
Yes.
All right. Are we, Jeff, to your, have we met or discussed as to where we need to be now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Let's go back then to the water efficient landscape ordinance. Brandon, thank you for getting these copies to us.
Not a problem. I wanted to make sure that you saw the changes that were proposed.
Yeah.
So that's why the letters are so, or the words are so small. Documents so small.
That's all right.
And I did a quick review of it, and the language for the elevation is not in there, but I believe it would fit under section 9, landscapes in new single-family residential developments. And we can slide that language in there that would then address.
Okay. Do we, okay, where I'm wondering, we want to go through this bit by bit, I guess, and just make sure that it's what we want it to be. So.
Yeah, because the next time you see it, it's going to be for a request to approve.
Yeah. On the second page, under the definitions, hardscape. It's not really clear to me what it's trying to say. Hardscape, driveways, sidewalks, patios, decks, and paths. And then it goes on to say, does not include driveways and sidewalks. So I would assume what we're trying to say, there's hardscape is driveways, sidewalks, patios, and paths. Decks could be questionable whether it's permeable or whether it's a, concrete deck. If it's a wooden deck, then that wouldn't necessarily be a hardscape. And the second sentence where it says does not include driveways and sidewalks. Help me understand that.
I think maybe there's a typo there, and I think it just needs to say hardscapes include driveways, sidewalks, patios, decks, and paths. And then that second sentence does not include just needs to be removed.
You want to edit
Is that not the definition of hardscape?
Yeah.
Do you want it to say concrete decks?
the solid surface decks?
Yeah, solid surface decks as opposed to like a wooden deck would be permeable, and that's not hardscape.
So my question is, there's a lot of these definitions here that aren't used in the ordinance itself. So is this just to provide a framework for future changes or something?
I would have to say yes.
Okay. Because I think the only other place hardscape is used is in another definition.
Yeah, but if they submit a site plan and they show their hardscape, then we can then go back, because we do refer to site plan. So then we can go back and say, well, according to the definition
Right.
of hardscape.
Okay.
The
That
drawings
sounds good.
will certainly talk about those items in probably very clarity. We
Yeah.
expect them to.
Okay.
So we've put solid surface decks and crossed out the duplication of not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to put is or are? Include the following something, or do you want to?
Hardscape includes the following.
The
Is that
colon
what-
pretty well says that.
Yeah.
Examples of, so maybe we don't need to touch that. Right, is everybody okay with the colon?
Yep. Colon is healthy. Okay, I've got another comment on page 5. We need to develop, I don't think a list has been developed in Exhibit A. List of recommended plants needs to be created, correct?
Yeah, we need to create a list of plants.
Okay.
I know Weber Basin has a pretty good list of plants, but I know also, Curtis, that you probably have a really good idea of what works and what doesn't, being that you're
Yeah.
the profession that you're in. So
Okay, so we'll need to, I'll take a look at what Weber Basin has, and
Okay.
then we can come up with a list.
So as soon as this is approved, then every new house that, we're not talking just about Rock Loft Estates. I mean, we have several lots for sale in the city right now. It'll all go under that.
this will affect every new building permit. Yes. This will also affect anybody that comes in and wants to re-landscape. So they come in and say, I want to get rid of the grass, or I want to, okay, this is how we're going to handle that.
What about people that are already doing flip the strip? They don't fall under this.
This ordinance will help them qualify for reimbursement for the Flip the Strip program. Right now, because we don't have an ordinance in place, residents don't get reimbursed through Weber Basin Water for their flipping of the strip.
So if they do it before this is in place, it doesn't go back. It's not retroactive.
No,
Okay.
no, that's why we want to get this in place, because we've got several people calling us wanting to know if they can be reimbursed, and this is not something we reimburse them for. It's something Weber Basin is reimbursing.
And that, is that a Weaver Basin requirement?
Hey, could you take a minute,
Yes.
Brandon, while we're taking this side trip? Would you tell us about Flip the Strip?
Yeah, Flip the Strip program is a program that Weber Basin has been promoting for a couple of years now. With the increased drought and possibility of not being able to irrigate, more and more people are jumping on board with this. But it's the section of grass between the sidewalk and the curb. It's the biggest waste of water next to a broken sprinkler that anybody could have. And so people are being encouraged to remove the grass from their park strip and install some water-wise plants, or zero-scape it completely. Now, the list of plants that should go back in there are that list that we just talked about.
Right.
Things that can tolerate low or no water throughout the summer. It can be irrigated with a drip system, but it cannot have any type of a spray head or a nozzle that will waste the water. So the water is limited to the plant itself.
Right. And yeah, that helps minimize weeds as well, also. So
Yes, if they do it right, it will minimize the weeds. Now, that might be something that we have to look at as well. You flip the strip and then it just becomes a weed patch.
Yeah.
That's not what we would like to see either.
Is it opposed to putting that all in concrete?
I don't believe that you can get credit for a Weaver Basin. You get reimbursed if you put in concrete.
But would it be approved through our city to put in concrete, like some places along Mountain Road have concrete from face of curb to the owner's landscape?
I mean, you can do that.
So could we approve that?
You wouldn't get paid.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, it's
I
not
guess
about the money.
that brings up a point. As the city, are we willing to approve or agree with having that park strip concrete aesthetically?
That's what I'm getting at, as well as the depth,
Well-
because you're talking about could
That's,
be
that's
up
kind
to
of
9 feet.
another issue, I would assume, but maybe not. I don't know if it's.
Is
possible.
that bad?
What's
To put
that?
it into concrete? Is that bad?
We've got up on Mountain Road, we've got it along the whole
We,
side.
our city standard now is a 6-foot walk back a curb.
So there's no park strip, so there's.
So
no-
there wouldn't be
there's
a
no
park
s-
strip.
No strip to
If
flip.
somebody wanted to come into the city and propose that they put concrete in, I don't know that we would be against
No,
that.
We wouldn't be opposed to that. That's our standard now.
So would the dimensions be a problem, 9 or 10 feet versus the 6?
Oh.
The only problem that you would have is the design for the sidewalk as it crosses the approach. But people would be rolling off what's existing. So I would hope that the sidewalk that's in place would meet the ADA standards and requirements. The other thing is we don't really like having our meters cast in concrete because
That's
those
correct.
do go bad. If we have to replace the barrel or the meter
Yeah.
for any reason, we will go in, jackhammer the concrete out, and we will not replace it.
So do we need to address that at all, or just see how it goes? I mean, I'm not saying that it could happen
We-
if the city allows it, because we're going to see a lot of it in the next few years, perhaps.
We have been addressing that at a staff level as
Okay.
people come in to let them know that we don't want the meter covered with concrete for the very reason that we have to replace those on occasion. So they don't like it because then it leaves a portion that's not concreted. But we've explained to them they're welcome to put gravel around it. They're welcome to do something other than concrete around it. Now, at the end of the day, they may still concrete around it.
Sure.
Brandon, do you know is Weber Basin administering the state's Flip the Strip program, or are they administering their own?
I'm not aware of what program they're administering.
Because the state set aside money to reimburse people for doing this Flip the Strip. But I don't know if that's a separate thing than what Weber Basin is promoting.
I would imagine it's the same thing that Weber Basin is promoting. I don't believe they're doing a separate Flip the Strip program.
So
They got money from somewhere to,
it must be the state's money then.
and I think it's important to note that it's not 100%, they give you a percentage. They don't say, here's,
Yeah, it's like $1.25 a square foot.
Yeah, they've established the amount. It's not like you get reimbursed for whatever you.
it's an amount.
So I think the concept there is it's like we have the state, we have Weber Basin, and then we have the city that is going to control or not control the neighborhood with what they do on flipping the strip. Are they going to get a permit? Do they need to have it? Is Weber Basin monitoring what they're putting in? Do they have to approve it, or is the state? Because it doesn't sound like we're approving any. They don't have to come in and Brandon ask for a permit to flip the strip with you, but are they required to follow Weber Basin's recommendations on plants and the type of watering that they need to do, for example?
It's my understanding, and I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just entering this myself as a newbie. It's my understanding they have to present to Weber Basin a plan of what it is. Now, for us to also require a permit, that's not a bad idea. It wouldn't cost them anything. We would just simply say, you bring into us what your plan is so that we can make sure that it meets our water-wise ordinance. And that,
Right.
you put 4 inches of gravel with a weed barrier down and a drip system or something along those lines.
Yeah, the reason is because Weber Basin becomes a controller of what that looks like and water's like, and it might be different than this document they're looking at right now. So not to add to your
Yeah.
deal, but that's a big deal.
It appears, Sam, that according to Weber Basin's website, they are administering the state's money with regards to this.
Therefore, what to do and how to do it, and
Yeah.
you'll comply. So we're going to just make sure we love that or not with how they've done it. I'm sure it's fine because they're the one that brought it up about like no spray heads. It's all about drip systems, for example. Then it's just about plants, and do they follow into the future plant forestry type elements that we're going to deal with here?
Yeah,
I think what we could do is, I would assume that Weaver Basin has got a pretty thought out, plant list. And if ours works with that, we'll work with it. I don't see that going to be a big, it's either or.
Sure.
It's I think one could work very well with the other, just to make it simple.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, not to prolong it, but there was a group in Ogden, a resident in Ogden, that put the favorite grass-looking carpet down on their yard, and the city had them rip it out. This was before the word drought really came popular the last year or so. But they now are probably looking at that again, saying, hey, that's maybe not such a bad idea to have some kind of a, water-wise type simulated grass look. They just told them to rip it out. It was in the news, and it was pretty difficult time for that homeowner to go to that expense and put it in, and then the city told them to rip it out.
Yeah.
That is totally. So we just want to, I don't know, there's that fine line of, what do you get when you flip the strip? For the,
We're going to get a lot of different,
yeah.
people have
Yeah.
different likes.
There's a lot of people still doing it in our neighborhood. There's at least 3 or 4 neighbors already doing it.
Yes.
Have artificial turf?
No.
They're
just
putting
flipping the
gravel
strip.
and slate.
Yeah, and see, that's the part where we need to talk about what do we allow in our city, regardless of Weber Basin or the city, and are there some things that are objectionable that will protect the neighborhoods for visual? Because, commercially, we just can't throw rocks down and say that's my xeriscape for a project. We have to have some real common approvable products that is qualified as a xeriscape type product, rather than just, hey, I got an extra dump load of dirt or gravel, I'll just throw that in that park strip, take the water out, and good luck. So do we need to address that, or is that just me?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'd be happy to put some, study into, see, I've seen it around and know what's going on.
I'm just gonna say, Weaver Basin has an extensive list of wildlife plants and creates beautiful landscapes.
Yeah.
It's not blocking cactus and a few pieces of sagebrush. They're beautiful landscapes. I know we talked about, last time we met, about what we do to monitor people that are wasting water, and with this split the strip program, I think it's an excellent idea to get to where we have an ordinance so people can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking here with you, Commissioner Tanner, is get Weaver Basin's list and
Yeah.
use theirs, browse, and just so, I said this before, one of the first homes going up here to my mind, our yard is going to be designed by Weaver Basin itself.
Yeah.
So it can be used as an example for the residents.
Awesome. Kind of like a model.
I think what we need to decide as a community is to figure out, what we want the park strips to look like. And, is it going to be, at one extreme solid concrete, at the other extreme, a nice drip fed, ground cover. So we need to kind of decide where we need to be. And I have a hard time with just a solid concrete. I mean, that works, but you can get something a little bit softer and easier with, with a good gravel and then with, some plant material. So,
I think one thing to keep in mind, to be able to qualify for the flip the strip, we need to get this in. I do like the idea of addressing maybe a subsection within this about flip the strip.
Yeah.
And we can kind of cite that so long there are funds available, Weber Basin has this program, and then detail, like you said, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. But maybe that would be an amendment after we get this in, so that people can start
I think that's a good way to go.
trying to take that advantage.
Perfect. I think that's a good way to go. Thank you. Yeah.
And I say that selfishly because I want to do the flip the strip.
Well,
And I promise I won't put concrete in it.
thanks.
Well, and most people won't know what the option designs are.
I think, as you say, possibly some examples could be included to show,
Yeah.
what they're like, and that's easy enough to do.
Well, I just checked the flip the strip program, and there's a class. You actually have to take a class from Weber Basin to participate,
Qualify.
Oh,
which
that's
I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I've gone forward to page 7. about mid-page, it talks about each new development or rehabilitated landscape that uses primary potable water for landscape irrigation must provide a water budget calculation to demonstrate maximum applied water allowance, MAWA, for the new landscape. And it says this MAWA is determined by the secondary water provider based on parcel size, and it's referred to as an allocation. Do we have that?
Do we have the
That maximum allowable water, applied water allowance? Do we need it? I mean, it sounds like that's something that needs to be in place.
well, that is something that we have got in place with the Rockloft Ridge Estates development, and that is a percentage of the
Okay.
of the property, and I can't remember if it was 25 or 30, 20% for grass. So we've got something in place for Rockloft Ridge Estates. Now, I think it probably makes sense to keep that same percentage across the citywide, instead of saying, well, you get 20 and you get 30. I think keeping it similar across the city is important.
Okay. So with what we've decided, what I understand we've decided, or what we're shooting for with the development agreement, is that a certain percentage of the lot area, it can be irrigated, right?
Yes.
Or lawn, or whatever it is.
Yes.
But this talks about the landscape irrigation must provide a water budget calculation. Is that the same thing?
I would have to look into that. I don't know.
Okay. Let me check into that as well. That was a question I had from earlier.
It's interesting that on page 8, they talk about the model home. I don't know if you saw that. Model home shall include an informational brochure on water efficient landscaping.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that we're going to have many model homes anymore. I think they're all sold.
Yeah.
Did you find that comment about the elevation? Is that it? Did you say that was in?
It's not in there, but I said that we would probably slide that into section 9 under new landscaping, because that's where it would apply most likely. Landscape in new single-family residential developments.
I have a question or a comment that I made earlier on section 13, it's page 10. It has a plan review for construction and post-construction monitoring for commercial, industrial, and institutional projects.
Yeah.
Item B says all installers and designers shall meet the state and local license, insurance, and bonding requirements. So you've got a developer that wants to self-install. Does he need to be a licensed contractor?
I guess I'm trying to understand. You
Okay.
mean one developer, home developer comes in and they do
Well,
13 homes?
This is for commercial, industrial, and institutional projects. It says that all installers and designers shall meet the state and local license, insurance, and bonding requirements, and shall be able to show proof of such. So someone we're assuming that they're going to hire a landscape contractor to put in irrigation.
Well, we're also assuming that we'll have industrial educational.
Exactly.
So I would just simply say that if the ordinance says that they have to be licensed, then that would tell me that the developer can't be the landscaper. He's got to hire a landscape
All
architect
right,
or a
just wanted to bring
landscaper.
that point up.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Or he'd get someone to sign off for him or something like that.
Yeah.
I had a comment earlier on about in section 14, and
Too vague.
I think it's mostly just recommendations or comments. Let me see if I can't narrow that down. I put that in for consideration. Just some thoughts on that.
Is that the this is too vague statement, or is it the statement below that that's lengthy?
My vague statement is this is too vague. That's me.
Okay.
Curtis gave a lot of good detail.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, there is a definition of waste of water. So if we wanted to use that definition, we need to capitalize water in section 14. And that's good. I think, I mean, at some point, if we want to put teeth into this, we would have to try to drill down. I don't know what that would look like. And I think Curtis would be our expert there.
I wish we had recourse for people that use too much water.
You wish what?
Said I wish we had recourse for those that use too much water because it's so frustrating.
Well, this year there is recourse. $250 fine, $500 fine, $1,000 fine, and then your water's shut off. So if it appears that they are wasting or using too much water,
But is the secondary water, it's not regulated.
Or it's not well.
It's
I
not
don't know how much-
metered.
Is any of the secondary water metered in the city?
none of the secondary water is metered in the city. No.
But it's coming.
It is coming. Yes. But to your point, if I'm not mistaken, Weber Basin, because most of the cities Hates Creek Irrigation has sent out to all users their guidelines. And I believe that people are allowed to water 2 times a week.
Right.
Now the question comes, who's going to be patrolling this? Weber Basin is actually hiring
Water
a
cops.
group of people to drive around all summer long. Yeah, the water police. And they will notify the districts where they see violations.
So don't let your grass get too green.
Well, don't let the water run over the curb is the best.
This isn't new. I mean,
Yeah.
20 years ago, Rainbird was saying there's water cops all over California. So this is a
Yeah.
new thing. This has been around. So
Yeah.
it's just
So that's going to happen this year. And in the meeting that I was at Weber Basin, they said that this needs to be taken seriously, that the districts that provide secondary water need to implement or impose these fines. I worked with Benchland Irrigation last year on an incident here in our city where they slapped a meter on the guy's service and they metered it and found out that yes, he was using water, and they turned it off the rest of the year. The guy had just spent $500,000 on brand new landscaping and was overwatering. So they aren't going to mess around, and they don't really care how much you spend.
Well, they've
They're
already got
asking
their
you to be
water
smart.
on Benchland, right? You've got
Benchland
it?
does have their water on. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes.
Question then, so with regard to section 15, paragraph 2, that talks about actions to be taken by the city, if what it says terminate water service, are you saying you're gonna like shut down their culinary if they're not
Well, so we,
I'm not complaining.
There will be a second, well, you tell me, but there is a way to do that.
so there's, yes, what we're looking at from a culinary standpoint is there would be a series of fines, just like in the secondary. And before, that fine would be added to their utility bill. So $250 added to their utility bill, $500, $1,000. At $1,000, their water will be shut off until they, I'm trying to remember how we worded it. Their water will be shut off
they come
for
before.
violation, but because of health and sanitation purposes, we can't leave it off. It has to come back on. But they have to come into the city and they will be given their usage and a detailed list of, this is what you can and can't do, and we'll watch them. It ends up being a policing issue for the city, but
I mean, that language might be good to paste into there. Just so it's
the fine language.
Yeah, I like that.
I like to put language like that in there, but what I find is over time, prices increase,
Right.
and we don't get back to the ordinance and increase the price. And so
Gotcha. No, that's fair.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you.
We can add it to our fee schedule though.
But I think
Yes.
I don't even see the word fine in this paragraph. I'd like to see that because
Okay.
I mean, it does keep it kind of broad based. The city can take actions, but just whatever teeth we can add to this, I think will set a nice baseline. Hopefully.
What do you do about people that are filling their brand new swimming pools?
Okay, we actually addressed that so I started working on another document that the city council asked me to work on, dealing with culinary water usage, because what our fear is as a staff is people are going to realize that they can only water 2 days with secondary, and then they're going to water 2 more days with culinary. And so we're putting together a document that addresses the culinary water usage, because we see culinary water usage going up this summer.
So is that like a hose- is
What
that-
this document says is they are allowed to use their hose to their primary structure to fill their pool, which limits at about 5 gallons per minute. And then that gets billed, their water usage gets billed through their utility bill. I don't know how we would. I owned a pool once, and it costs a lot of money to treat secondary water. So you're better off just filling it with culinary to begin with. But there may be people out there that use their secondary water to fill their pool. I don't know how to regulate that because nobody has a meter.
Let's hope not.
All right.
So culinary water is, it's just like, it's on your bill. If you use more water to shower or wash dishes or whatever, you use it to fill your pool, your utility bill goes up.
Yeah,
Isn't
your
that the
utility bill will go
regulation?
up.
Isn't that basically what you're talking about? Your bill goes up?
Yeah, and that's how we're going to watch our culinary water usage this summer. Is we're going to, every month we do utility bills, compare it to their last year's billing cycle, and see, if they're staying
Sure.
roughly in the same range or not.
Sure.
It's going to be a lot of work for city staff to look back, but the flip side to this is if the city uses more water, culinary water, than we have purchased, we would pay a fine, because number one, we'd use more than what we got from Weber Basin, and that fine is significant. So it's within our interest as a city to stay underneath that purchased water agreement. Now, I'm going to say this very quietly. We have plenty of water for our needs, culinary needs, but people could really burn through that quick if we don't abide by what we're being asked to abide by, and that's watering during those times and not using your culinary water.
And cutting and reducing by what?
Cutting,
10,
reducing,
10%?
yeah. And then, that's everything. That's, throw a full load of laundry in your washing machine and do a full load of dishes in your dishwasher and, or wash them by hand or, just be smart about it. But, I live in Layton and I have culinary water for my secondary. I don't have a
For
secondary
your
system
outdoor watering.
for my
your
outdoor
landscape
watering. Yeah, my landscaping. And it's made me stop and think, how am I gonna reduce? Well, I'm not gonna water the areas that we don't hang out on, right? The areas that we play on or we have play games on or whatever. I'll make sure that gets a little bit of water, but my front yard, it's gonna look like
Like last year.
yeah, it's just not gonna look good.
And-
So
And the amount of plants. So like everybody runs down to the nursery and buys all their plants and throws them everywhere in their yard, and we have to water them. So maybe we just we're going to try and do our best to say, instead of putting all of the plants we normally do, we're trying to say, let's put them in certain spots and water those, and maybe by hand and so on.
What you need to do is get the plants that are water wise. I mean, there's plants that you could make it look pretty, but you don't have to. You can get plant material that can go with low water. And so it's being wise in what you choose to plant.
my wife went to Hobby Lobby and she bought a bunch of plastic flowers. So I'm sure it'll look excellent.
The red's going to
And you
fade.
got the guy out there
There'll
with
be kind of
his
a turquoisey green.
protest going, plastic.
Oh, no. Okay.
I'm kidding.
So any other comments on this? Brandon, you say we need to approve this next time?
Yeah, I'm going to be presenting the full document with the edits
Okay.
as you see to you next time for approval.
Okay.
Are we
So
okay?
if there is any changes that you see that need to be made, aside from what we have already talked about, will you please make sure you get them in there? I will send the version out to you well in advance of the planning commission meeting so that you can review that. And then, yes, I would really, really like to adopt this because that's when people are going to start irrigating and watering is May 15th. So shortly after that, it would be nice to have this in place.
Can I just throw out, would it be good to, I'm just going to say carefully, this is down to, this much versus changes.
Right.
We're here in April. If we do this in the end of May, by the time this gets the word out, we're going to lose this summer on this, a lot of this summer on this document. Couldn't we find a way to just say, can we just do this with, like we do sometimes, we're going to do it with this development, say with modifications approved as noted, and let's get this done, because I'm worried that this is going to be the 26th of May. And then by the time this goes out there, we're going to miss that. May's a big month, and June, and then June, July, and August, and that's it. So, it's a seasonal type approach, but I'd suggest we do it tonight and with corrections, or
Okay.
something.
And I'm fine with that. If you'd like to,
we're-
take that approach, I'm absolutely fine.
I
with
like
that.
it.
Because then we can get it out there, and then because if we have this done before the season starts on May 15th, it's like opening day of baseball. We got to get it done.
Does this need
Yeah.
a public hearing?
Jeff, does this need a public hearing?
Please say
It's an
no.
ordinance. Plus, if we have it in place, the flip the strip people can get
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I mean, this
And
is
we
so
can
close.
always amend it afterwards, but I like what you're saying. Get it
Let's
out
get
there.
it out here.
Move forward.
We've got some public here. Can we open this up?
Hasn't
No.
been noticed.
Can we do the public hearing at the city council? Can the public hearing be held at the city council level, or does it need to be held at the planning commission? Or both? Okay.
I'm just saying, if we can do it sooner or later before, and because this won't become in effect until officially almost the end of May, which is then June, July, and, so.
Could it be approved pending a public hearing and modifications to, as noted in the document? Not? No? Okay.
All right, we tried.
Well, I mean, is it
When's the
possible
next
to move
council
our
meeting?
date?
Next Tuesday is the next council meeting.
How much, you need 2 weeks' notice?
You need 2 weeks' notice?
So the 17th would be the next council meeting. We could notice it. We could have a
Well-
have a public hearing on the 17th.
We'll
That's
just-
all- Almost
Prior
a
to the
good
city
idea.
Council meeting, it
Why
would
don't
be
we
a
just-
special meeting for the planning commission.
Why don't we just move our meeting from the 26th or whatever to the 17th and get a 2-for-1? And because we want to get some of this other stuff out of here sooner or later, because you're going to come before this still and get your recording. Do you have enough time to record and stuff as well? Just saying.
I don't know. I mean, we can hold a special meeting for planning commission, but you may need to have another meeting at the end of May for
For the-
Rockloft Ridge Estates, because I can't speak that that's going to be ready to go by the 17th. I don't know.
Could we try for that?
I would like some time to review.
Yeah, okay.
Rockloft Estates before we get too closer to that.
Yeah, let's
If
do
we want to
that.
move this ahead and that's good, then we can.
We're talking the 10th of May. Oh, wait, well,
No,
you'll
the
get noticing
17th,
Monday,
yeah,
so
the
yeah, you're.
17th.
But
so
see,
you-
that's good timing because if you have a public hearing, then it's going to be out there. The news will be out there and then
So I'm
The
gonna
water
ask-
will have
The
been
water
on.
have been on 2
I'm
days.
going to ask the
Yeah.
planning commission, are you willing to meet on the 17th for a special meeting to approve the water efficient landscape?
If it's 3 hours, maybe not so much, but if it's that vote and it takes, might only take 20 minutes or.
So
I'm
we
just
could do
saying.
the public hearing and then do the, approve this, right? At the same, one after the other like we normally do?
It doesn't have to be a 3-hour meeting either.
No, it can be a quick meeting.
just depends on the public.
Just the public will dictate how long it is.
Yes.
You said the 17th?
Well,
That is a Tuesday, I believe.
I
the
think
17th.
that should be
It is.
fine.
2 weeks is the 10th, but you'd have to get it out.
You won't, can you?
We meet the first and third Tuesdays of the month for city council and the fourth Tuesday for planning
You
commission.
can't
So
publish it before midnight tonight, so it'll have to be
I'll publish it first thing tomorrow morning.
perfect.
Okay.
So let's plan on holding a special meeting at 6 p.m. on the 17th to review, discuss, approve, deny the water-wise ordinance with the changes that we discussed tonight. I'll make sure those are in there and that you have a copy of it well in advance of the meeting.
Perfect.
So we can approve it at 6 o'clock to
Well, the
6:07,
public hea- the
and
public hea-
then at 6:07, it'll be approved, and then you have a public meeting, and then you have the,
No, you have
Oh,
to
you
have
have
the
to have
public
public
hearing
hearing
first
first.
and then approve it.
So the city council can approve it after that 6 o'clock.
We'll put it on the city council agenda for approval that same night.
So we're done on the 17th.
It'll
And
be
that's
done
2
on the
days
17th.
after the water turns on.
Yes. But what I can do is call Weaver Base and let them know that that's going to be approved so that hopefully we can get in the queue for our residents to start receiving some rebate.
Yeah, great.
That's terrific.
I don't know that anybody's going to come and protest the ordinance, but I guess there could be some.
Water guys.
Okay,
Okay.
great. I'll make those changes. Thank you. That was a great discussion.
All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the calendar, which we've just kind of gone through. Anything else?
We'll have one of those holidays. I can't remember, Memorial Day in
That's
May.
the 30th.
Okay, so that won't affect us.
Mother's Day.
The 24th is
Mother's
the
Day.
4th Tuesday.
Mother's Day.
Yes. So we'll meet on the 17th and we'll
And the
meet on the
24th.
24th.
Right.
I'll be out of town on the 24th.
Okay. Thank you.
Last time we met, seems to be for you didn't have, Steve, and Brandon, we have next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, joint planning commission, city council work meeting. Tentative schedule, and we're still doing that.
Yes. That's for the Rockloft discussion,
Yeah,
right?
That's for,
That's my understanding too, before city council next week
Before city council, a joint work meeting
on the Rockloft.
on Rockloft Ridge. I had forgotten about that, but we can,
Should we maybe, so should we maybe do work on 17 and then, so that maybe special session?
Does that work for you guys to come in on the 17th instead of the 3rd? To give you more time, is that better?
Would that be okay? So what time would we want to start that meeting then? Because maybe I provide dinner for everybody on the 17th. If you like Little Caesar's pizza, it's cheap. Okay. Let me get back with you on a time because I want to make sure that we give enough time for a work meeting and not feel rushed between a public hearing and an approval of an ordinance and then hurrying to try and get into a city council meeting. So maybe we bump city council a little bit later and squeeze in a work meeting before a planning commission meeting. Would that work for you, planning commissioners?
Yeah, and it sounds like to me that if this document goes, it might be nice to have would it be good to have the public come in and get for sure this document we're trying to get out on the 17th? And then try and make sure we don't overlap you guys, but we've been here before. So make sure, because the whole reason we're doing this document is to get it approved on the 17th. So I suggest we do the public element first and get that complete and set so it's ready for city council later that night. And then we can squeeze without being too, one way or the other, not to give you the respect they need for their time for their work meeting after the public hearing.
Okay.
Is that instead of meeting next week at 6?
Yeah. If it works for you guys. That way, the public, because otherwise we might miss the thing and we don't want to lose these guys out trying to put two meetings together.
So the
There's a
first
public meeting.
item on the 17th agenda would be
This one,
the public hearing on the
First item on the agenda would be the public hearing,
For
and then
the-
we would finish that up. We would go into a work meeting prior to a city council
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Yes, that's how we will handle that.
Yeah,
We would do the
Yes.
approval first.
have the
Yes.
public hearing on the
that way
water,
it's on you guys.
then
Okay.
approval, and then work meeting for Rocklaw.
Okay.
And we've got some eyes and ears on the fact that we're expecting that as we approve it, we have the public meeting, public hearing, and then we approve it, that the city council will be kind of on board so that they can approve it officially, so we can get it as an ordinance
Yes.
set up.
We can describe that next week's city council
So
so that
we're
we can be
geared for it.
efficient on
Yes.
the
Yes.
17th. Yeah,
Because that's the reason we're doing it.
right.
Because if
We
you
ought to
guys are
give
not-
them a copy of the ordinance as well in advance
Okay.
of the meeting so that they know what we've
Yeah.
been working
And then
on.
encourage them to be
Okay.
prepared.
Because if you
All
need
right.
more time, you need more time.
So the 17th is going to be a big day.
Yeah, big evening.
Okay.
All right, great. Anything else? One last chance.
Kelly.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the planning commission meeting.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the planning commission meeting.
You'll make a motion or you entertain it?
Both.
And I
So Brand-
second it.
Second
So-
on all accounts.
Okay.
So Brandon, no meeting. Oh, never mind.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?